Alright, I'm sick and tired of all the Switch 2 slander I'm seeing online now. Fucking sick of it. There's no correct way in which to structure this video, so why don't we just go in order of validity, meaning what comes first is the most ridiculous and what comes last I will likely agree with to some extent. Yes, I've had the displeasure of seeing some brainiacs make the claim that the Switch 2 is underpowered. Well, we don't even have the full specifications yet, but we have some trustworthy sources that have made predictions giving the information that we do have. Let's compare it with some other handheld consoles using the price of their base model as the point of comparison. Switch 1 costing around $240, Switch 2 costing exactly £396. Steam Deck, the base model is now the 256 gig one, and that is $349. It used to have a 64 gig version, but I can't find that anywhere new now, so I assume with the release of the OLED version, the 256 gig model has become the standard, the base model, whatever. ROG Ally, or is it ROG? I don't know, and I don't really care. You can find for much cheaper, but it normally retails for $5.99. Okay, throw the Legion Go in there too. That's the exact same thing, it's $5.99. As you can see, there's been a substantial bump from the Switch 1 to the 2. Full HD and 120Hz is frankly more than you'll ever need for like a handheld console. For a screen of this size anyway. The Go has a better resolution, which is frankly probably not all that noticeable on a screen of this size. And for the vast difference in price, who gives a shit? We don't have the specific clock speeds of the Switch 2 yet. These three here have more RAM, so yes, the systems that are more expensive have slightly better specifications. Congratulations. Allow me to make a counterpoint though. Consoles, as in actual consoles, not just, mini PCs in handheld console form factor, especially Nintendo consoles, tend to have a substantial level of optimization for their video game releases, especially the first party stuff. Developers optimize their games for consoles more so than they do for their PC releases, mostly because of the identical hardware between consoles. PCs have a million different hardware combinations, so it's difficult to do some top tier universal optimization. As a result, PS5 will probably perform better on certain games, only certain, than a PC would with comparable hardware. That being said, this isn't a 100% thing, but it's, worth adding to the conversation. As you can see, the Switch 2 offers comparable storage per pound per currency unit, whatever you wanna... Yes, the more expensive systems have more storage. Groundbreaking, but proportionally it's about the same. And honestly, all other points of comparison beyond that are like kind of pointless discussing, because they're pretty much identical, like, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, just general connectivity. The controllers are all basically identical in terms of like layout, but let's not forget that the Switch 2's gyros are going to be way better than any of these, and now they have that mouse functionality on the right Joy-Con. Yes, you could connect a mouse to the Steam Deck or the other two here, but then that's more money you've got to shell out unless you've already got a mouse, but still it's something you've got to factor in. It doesn't come with the console, this comes with the Switch. Same goes for battery life. All these consoles, Switch included, have pretty naff battery life, to be honest. They're all around the 2 to 3 hour mark at like heavy loads. You could make the argument that if you take one of these more powerful consoles and run them at a lower resolution, do some tinkering with graphics settings and stuff, you could squeeze more battery life out of them, and you'd be right, but you're still shelling out more money for that option. The only one of these three that is even really comparable to the Switch in terms of value is the Steam Deck. I have a Steam Deck, but let's be real here. As a handheld, it's usable, but you can't just like casually slip it in a hoodie pocket like you could with the Switch if you really wanted to. It's huge and bulky, and I don't feel comfortable taking it anywhere without the case. The same goes for the Switch, to be honest. Like, I don't really feel comfortable taking that anywhere without a case. But it's food for thought. The Switch is actually portable, and you could, like, if you wanted to, just kind of slide it in a hoodie pocket. Whereas I guess you maybe could with the Steam Deck, but you need a really baggy hoodie. The Steam Deck has the advantage of basically being a mini PC and being able to mod it, emulate stuff on it, play basically anything on Steam. But here's something that may be surprising. You don't buy a Nintendo console to compete with a PC. I have a PC. I want the charm of Nintendo. I want to play Mario Kart and Mario Party. The Switch makes everything so accessible and so user-friendly. Try and play a 4-player game on your PC with your family. Carrying your big awkward tower down the stairs, connecting 4 USB USB-C cables and running them across the living room. Yeah, cool.
You can just use Bluetooth.
My PC doesn't have Bluetooth! Which I guess is a me problem, but you know, I do have a Bluetooth adapter somewhere, but it's never just as seamless as just slipping a controller onto the Switch. It's up to you. What do you value more? Ease of access and user-friendly interfaces, first-party releases which you won't be able to emulate for a while. This is new hardware. Emulators take a while to make. This console is going to be the only way to play the new Mario Kart at all for at least a year or two, and it's going to be at least 3 before you can play it portably on like the Steam Deck or something, or the Steam Deck's successor. The Switch 2's pricing is making everyone very upset. More so the game and accessory prices. Let's compare it to its main console competitor, being the PS5. It varies, but you can find a PS5 for as cheap as £400. The Switch 2 is basically the same at $396, so let's just say they're both $400 for the sake of argument. A pair of Joy-Cons are £75. A standard PS5 controller ranges from $68 to $80, depending on the colour. Just for shits and gigs, let's throw the Xbox controller in there, which is roughly like $35. But let's not forget the Xbox doesn't have all that fancy shit thrown in, like the infrared, the gyroscope, the mouse functionality, the HD rumble. They don't even come with a rechargeable battery, for fuck's sake. The fact that they're charging even that much for what is basically a reshelled Xbox 360 controller is worse than charging $75 for what can function as 2 whole different controllers. The Pro controller is $75 too, which yeah, it shouldn't really be as much as it is, but it's the same as a PS5 controller and it has the same technology inside, except the battery life is 8 times better. The battery life is so good on the Pro controller, I just can't bring myself to hate on its price tag. The battery on the first Pro controller never disappointed, and I imagine this one will be the same. It costs the same as a PS5 controller, has the same technology inside, minus the touchpad, which is never used, has the NFC functionality in lieu of the touchpad, and on top of that, like I said, the battery lasts like 8 times as long. So here's where most people's complaints lie though, the pricing of the games. There's some validity to this complaint, which is why I'm going to bump it into its own separate tier of critique. Here's a list of some of the most popular games from the last 5 years and their release prices. As you can see, there is a wide variety here, but the pattern seems to be that for the big first-party AAA releases, £70 is the standard. Is Mario Kart not a AAA release worthy of that price tag? If there was ever a company that reserved the right to usher in the new pricing of the next generation of AAA games, it's Nintendo. The company that has consistently pushed the envelope, upping the standards for new releases. Every time they put out a new entry in a series, whatever genre that game belongs to, that becomes the new standard for that genre. Mario Kart, kart races, Mario Odyssey, 3D platformers, Mario in general, 2D platformers, Breath of the Wild, open world adventure games, Zelda in general, revolutionized 2D and 3D adventure games. Nintendo have had some fantastic RPGs, and hell, Donkey Kong basically revived video games as a whole back in 1981, so now, do they need to sell Mario Kart for £75? No, let's not kid ourselves here. But adjusted for inflation, this isn't even close to being the most expensive games they've ever been. And it's really not that big of a jump, like a £5 jump, you know what I mean? Especially for a game that you know for a fact is gonna be of a higher standard than 99% of modern AAA releases. Has there ever been a flagship Nintendo title that wasn't of the highest quality? In short, does it need to be this expensive? No, but games are getting more expensive to produce. Inflation, as with everything, is obviously a factor. This is just how shit is. On top of people criticising the price of cartridges, a lot of misinformation has been spread about the physical cartridges not having the game actually stored on them, and that they're basically just keys with a code, a digital code, a code for... a code to digitally download the game. This is wrong for the most part. That was exactly the case for the Switch 1 too, but only for games that could not fit on a cartridge. The Switch cartridge format has a size limit, obviously. Some games literally can't fit on a cartridge. You could make the argument that for these games, Nintendo could, shell out for a higher storage format for these cartridges, but then that cost more to produce, and then people would complain about the price, so you really can't win. Of course, there's a middle ground, but Yeah, again, this is all food for thought. The alternative to getting the game digitally on the Switch, you could just buy it physically for the Steam Deck instead. Oh, wait, you can't, because as a collector of physical games, I think that this is, it's dumb. There's no way around it. What's the point in a physical release when it's not actually stored on the physical cartridge? There isn't one. For some games, first one that comes to mind is this Resident Evil collection here. One of the games is stored on the cartridge, and the box contains a download code for the other one. It's dumb. It's really dumb. But unfortunately, there just isn't an alternative, and it's not all that common. This is just something we're going to have to deal with for a few third-party releases. Alright, there's no way around this. They are selling Nintendo Switch 2 editions of older titles. Breath of the Wild, for example, pretty sure it's being sold at full price, being like 50 or 60. These games are old, man. This would be a great opportunity to do like a Nintendo Select kind of thing like you did for the 3DS and the Wii and stuff, where you purposely sell them at a reduced price and you kind of give those games a second life. You do have the option to pay for the upgrade if you own the original game, but you shouldn't have to do that. Not much else to say on this front. Point blank, it's done. Here's something else. This isn't exclusively a Switch 2 critique because it's been a thing since the first Switch. Nintendo Switch Online. This paid online bullshit is all Microsoft's doing for inspiring its competitors to stoop to their shitty fucking dank dungeon level. At least Nintendo's is cheaper unless you get the expansion pack, which is what they lock their old games behind as an additional incentive. This would be a cool option if we weren't completely robbed of the late great Virtual Console. Why can't I just buy old games individually anymore? I'm not paying a monthly fee to play a game that was made in fucking 1996. This is a joke, but I'm just gonna emulate your old games, haha, if you don't let me buy them, haha. I would happily pay like $5.99 or something to play an old N64 game if it ran natively on the Switch like it did on the Wii or the Wii U. This just isn't good enough, and the likelihood is they'll now never bring this back. And the likelihood is I'll just pay for like a month of normal online to play Mario Kart World for a bit, then cancel the subscription until the next big first party Nintendo multiplayer game comes out. And I guarantee I'm not the only one who thinks like this. I feel you'd make more money just letting people buy these old games individually, regardless of the mixed bag. I think there's more good to look forward to than bad. Donkey Kong, that new FromSoft game, and Mario Kart. Let's talk about that real quick. Do you know how many dumbass comments I've seen about this game? Let's take a look. It reminds me of people buying FIFA every single year. Seriously? You know every single Mario Kart has been made from the ground up with a new engine, new physics, handling, and mechanics. I'm not even going to go into detail in this because it's just blatantly, like, either a troll or just wrong. Looks like a mobile game. It just doesn't, does it? What the fuck are you talking about? It looks too cartoony for me. We've come full circle. Would you rather this game be in the art style of Smash Brawl or something? Do you want to bring back the denim look? The fuck is wrong with you, man?
I don't like the overly childish art style. I'm sorry. I know Nintendo games are meant for kids, but MK8's style just felt so perfect to me.
Basically the same comment, but just a little bit more, comprehensive. The redesigns are fine in my opinion. I do prefer the old Donkey Kong design, but that's about it. Every other character basically looks the same. Like, yeah, the game's overall visual style looks different, but it's not worse, in my opinion anyway. Why are the graphics evolving backwards? Not even gonna bother.
Find 3 differences about this game and Mario Kart 9 without counting graphics.
I'm sure he means Mario Kart 8. Well, it's a sequel in a long line of kart racing games where the formula has basically been perfected. So they very well could have just made a bare-bones sequel that changed nothing, and I'd probably still be happy. But off the top of my head, I'm sure the handling and the drifting will feel slightly different. You can glide over water now, there's rail grinding and wall riding, new items, returning items. Also the fact that it's literally free roam now, the knockout mode. I imagine battle mode will return. It probably will be a little bit different to MK8's battle mode. Why do the carts look so slow? Do people just not have critical thinking skills anymore? This gameplay was using like 50cc footage, which anyone who's played Mario Kart, like, should just assume, like, if it looks slow, they're probably playing on a low CC. Unless you've never played Mario Kart and you're just commenting for the sake of it because you're a fucking child. I like it for real, but damn, they race extremely slowly. I want it more frenetic, like Mario Kart Wii. Why do so many people say this? If you've played Mario Kart, you know they have different CCs. That guy's got a better attitude, so I won't rip into him. Why change the gameplay and graphics though? I really like the whole new open world thing and all the other new game modes, but the graphics and gameplay. This is proof that you can't please everyone. Even if you change things, people will always prefer the old stuff. Oh, fucking hell, man.
Looks exactly like Mario Kart 8.
Oh, fuck off, man.